Hello there everyone, and welcome to a brand new review from Class 47 Peter, which is going to be the first review of 2016. We say goodbye to last year, 2015, and hello to the new year, 2016, which we are in now, of course. Now, I have not one, not two, but three brand new models to look at. Obviously they're all not going to be reviewed in this review. They're going to be reviewed in separate reviews, obviously, because there's just no way I'm going to review them all in one video. But during my birthday last year, which was the day before New Year's Eve, when I turned 21, I decided to treat myself to three brand new models, which are all made by Hornby. Firstly, we have this Hornby's brand new J50 tank engine in LNER black, of course, as you can see. Then we also have this, an LNER A4 Pacific in the BR Express Passenger Blue livery. There's a bit of dust on the box then. And then we have this, an Unrebuilt West Country class. So, three brand new models to look at. Which is going to be reviewed first? Well, this year's review is going to be something slightly different, because for the first review of the year, it's been a viewer's choice. Because if you've all followed me on Twitter, or if any of you watching the video do follow me on Twitter, you would have noticed the poll on Twitter. Because I decided for the first review of the year it was going to be a viewer's choice, so the viewers could choose which of these three models that they'd like to see being reviewed in the first review of the new year, to kick it off in style. Well, not in terms of videos, but in terms of reviews, obviously. And also, if I'm honest, I couldn't decide out of the three models which to review first. But the voters' choice has come in, the poll has now ended, and the first review we are going to be reviewing is, there's no prizes for guessing it really, it's the Unrebuilt West Country class, which is the model that you've all chosen to be the first model to be looked at in 2016. It got 56% of the votes. The A4 only got 11%, and I think the J50, was it around 30? I can't remember. But even so. So the first review we're going to be looking at is, of course, the West Country class, the Unrebuilt one. Now, this model and the A4 and the J50 all came from one place, and that was the Hereford Model Centre. And this particular Unrebuilt West Country class is a new release. Well, it was to Hornby last year. They have brought out the Unrebuilt West Country before, but this particular one I have here is a new release. It's only been released since last month, to be honest. And this particular one is 34006, and it's called Bude, which is the one I wanted. Now, I've been meaning to get hold of a Hornby West Country, the Unrebuilt model of course, for a long time. I have the Rebuilt West Country, as you should all know by now obviously. I also have the Unrebuilt and Rebuilt Battle of Britons and a Rebuilt Merchant, but I haven't got, until now, an Unrebuilt West Country, so it made sense to be one of the new models to get. And of course also there's the Unrebuilt Merchant Navy that I don't have yet, but it's not been released yet. That's due to be released later this year, which I am looking forward to. But for the time being, we have the Unrebuilt West Country to have a look at. Now, I have not yet looked at this model. I haven't even opened it up. I've not took the box sleeve off or anything. It's just been left like this for a week or so. So I'm only just getting round to getting the reviews done of these new models. and I am really excited about seeing what it looks like in the flesh. I've seen it in the pictures on the internet, but I've not seen it, well, in reality. We're about to now. So, I don't think we'll waste any more time. Let's open up the model. So here's the box sleeve, which of course is the fairly new Hornby packaging now, the plastic packaging. And then on the back we have the photo of the diagram of the model, and then you have the power classification 7P and 6F, because they were mixed traffic locomotives. And then we have the brief history on the back, which I will give a bit of a brief history lesson of it now. So the West Country classes and the Battle of Britons, because the West Countries and Battle of Britons are pretty much the same thing. The merchant navies are different because they are heavier and bigger in comparison to the West Countries, that is. So they were all designed by Oliver Bulleid, and they were nicknamed spam cans because of the air smoothed casing, which is what this is. It's not streamlining, it's air smoothed casing. The first designs, well, they were the first designs to use welding and the steel fireboxes, and they were also lighter in weight than the merchant navies, and that was so they could be used on a wider variety of routes. And like I said, they were mixed traffic locomotives, being able to pull passenger or freight trains, and they were named after the West Country resorts, which is where the name West Countries came from. 60 were rebuilt during the late 1950s due to problems with the new features, which included the oil bath and the chain-driven valve gear and so on. They operated till 1967, which was the last days of steam on the southern region, when they were withdrawn, and they were built to replace the aging T9s on West Country branches. And they also, to some degree, replaced the N-class moguls, which were also mixed traffic, but then they were later used on the mixed traffic services elsewhere. 1943, Bulleid began planning for the post-war requirements, because the resumption of frequent passenger services over the poorly maintained track following the war would require a lighter loco, with the wider route availability. And there was also a containing need for the fast freight locomotives as well, which led to them being mixed traffic locos, basically. And then there's the air smooth casing to talk about, because it was not only intended to be cleaned in the carriage washers, but also to lift steam and the exhaust gases away from the cab. Moving parts were in a sealed oil bath to provide constant lubrication, so it would save maintenance basically. But there were many problems with the design in terms of the locomotive. For a start, there was the chain-driven valve gear, which was expensive to maintain and was prone to rapid wear. The oil bath would leak onto the asbestos lagging, and once saturated with oil, the lagging attracted coal and dust and ash, and sparks from heavy braking caused the lagging to catch fire underneath the casing. Fires were also attributed to the oil overflowing from the axle box lubricators onto the wheels when stationary, to be flung upwards into the boiler lagging in service. In either case, however, the local fire brigade were actually called to put the fire out using cold water, which would then come into contact with the hot boiler, causing stress to the casings. And as the result of this, which was the lagging fire, many unrebuilt locomotives had warped casings. The locos were also prone to wheel slip, and they had a very high fuel consumption. Per mile, they would burn 21.73 grams of coal, which is more compared to the T9s that they replaced. And the driver's visibility was difficult because the soft steam exhaust would beat down onto the casing, which would obscure the driver's vision. Although I understand there were experiment ideas to try and fix that, and I think there was to some degree a success of that. But anyway, that's more than enough brief history on the locomotive. Let's crack on. So I'll take out the plastic casing, and then we'll take away the box. Then we have this, which is the quality control from the Heritage Model Centre, just to say that the model has been tested before it was dispatched. They're not the only model shops that do it. I have had other model shops from other places that do mention that as well, but it's good to see that they do test them before, well, sending them out basically, to ensure that you don't get a broken model. So here are the instructions for the West Country / Battle of Britain, and it's all the usual stuff we're used to seeing by now. Lubrication, assembly, the tender connection, or assembly I should say rather, has changed to the wire plug socket. Then also, obviously, the body removal and fitting sound or DCC decoder. So that will go into my folder of instructions later. But for now we'll put it to one side. Then we take off the plastic sleeve. And then we have the detail parts to the model. And you also do get some instructions in here for the detail parts as well. Interestingly, pardon me. So in there we have the brake rods. That's for the tender. You get the brake rods for the locomotive, which are a pain to fit on. You also get a drive and fireman, which are unpainted, but you can paint them. But it is rare for Hornby to put these in with their models, because they don't do it very often. So that is a really nice touch. But I won't put them on this model, but I might still paint them up anyway. And you can also dirty the uniforms to make them look more realistic. You've also got fire irons, as you can see in there, being the shovels and the poking irons and all that lark. Chain link coupling for the front, which is a plastic one. You get a screw in there for something to do with the sound, I do believe. There's also a spare coupling for the front, and you do get the Southern Region style discs and the lamps for head codes if you want, but I'll just put them in with my lamps box, which is just over there. As you can just about see, some of the lamps and Southern Region discs are in there. What I like to do normally is to put temporary codes on the models, but I've stopped doing that recently, to be honest, but I'm still going to try and get back into doing it again. But you could glue them on permanently if you want to, but I don't really want to. I just like to do it, well, this way basically. You also get the steps for the front as well, and the vacuum pipes. And I think that's about it, to be honest. Don't think there's anything else in there. No, that's basically all there is to it. But either way, we'll put them to one side, and I will glue them on later, but not just yet though. So they will go to one side. And so now what we do is we, well, take off the packaging. And so to do it, we just take off that flap. And you've got this cellophane packaging, but it's still better than the tissue paper that Hornby used to use once upon a time, which I dislike a lot. Now I should point out, because the loco and the tender are both connected together, of course, you have to lift them both out together, because I do not recommend, and they don't recommend, that you do it separately. Because to me, well, the way I see it, there's a chance you may damage the model. Just thought there's a bit of dust on the model then, but no, it's just a reflection of the light. So we'll close that back up, so it's a bit neat. Although we can take that to one side because we don't really need that anymore, to be honest. And then we're free to look at the model. And so here we have the Unrebuilt West Country Bude in all its glory. Just look at this. This is a stunning model. The pictures don't fail to disappoint, because you can just see in the flesh just how much of a stunning model that this is. The West Country has obviously been out before, but it has undergone a few changes over time. One of them is the tender connection, because it didn't before used to have this style of tender connection with the drawbar connector or the wires that go into the socket via that plug. Before it was just the standard drawbar connector with the contact sticking up on the end, and basically they weren't connected together in the packaging. You could take them out separately and then connect the tender to the loco, you know what I mean. Or at least assuming you know what I mean. But either way, let's begin with the detail. What can we say about it? First of all, there's the weight. It is very heavy. It's quite heavy indeed, but you need the weight, remember, because without the weight you would not be able to get this pulling anything. So the weight is very important. It is quite hard to handle the model though, because of the nameplates on the side. But that's not a problem or a criticism, but it's just something that you should be careful of, because I am literally afraid right now that I could break them. So I am doing the best I can to handle the model. You also have these sprung metal buffers on the front. So if you like sprung buffers, then you will be happy. But if you're like me and you don't have any care for them, then well, that basically speaks volumes really, but they're there anyway. I've also got that hole on the front for the brake pipe to go onto. Then you've got the warning signs on the front. You've also got these, which are the electric headlamps, which in reality were powered by a steam generator under the cab. You've also got lamp irons as well on them. That was a train horn then. There is a bit of dust under there. Well, only some slight dust, but I will take care of that later. Then obviously got some detail under the smoke box with rivets around it, which looks very nice. And there's the smoke box door itself, which has a separately fitted smoke box door darts. Oh, sorry, I hit the camera then. You can just about see that they are separately fitted just there. And also you've got a handrail there at the side, and lamp irons. And you've even got rivets on those parts there, the smoke box door, and the shed code, which is, well, with this model you can't really get up that close to, but it does say 70A. So I put an annotation on the screen to let you know what shed code that was. You've also got the massive chimney, like all the Bullet Pacifics had. And just look at all them rivets on top of the roof of the casing. That is just stunning. And accurate to the real thing as well, because the casing was covered with rivets. You got the whistle there on top and the safety valves. There's a cab vent there, but it, well, I don't think it opens. Nah, it doesn't open, but it doesn't really need to at the end of the day. At least it's there. You've also got some pipe work under the cab there. There's the rear pony truck under the cab, like it should have, and this detail there under the cab, which is very nice. Glazing in the cab windows, like there should be. In the front cab windows on the side. Handrails on the back of the cab. There's the locomotive's running number, crisply printed, 34006. And you've got the power classifications printed on the top. And the lining is spot on. They've got it, well, accurate to the real thing on the locomotive's casing and around the cab. And it's also accurate on the tender as well. The shade of green is also correct, as it should be, because I don't think many people would be too impressed if the shade of green was wrong, but I can confirm that it is definitely bang on. You've got rivets on the cylinders there, which is nice. Then you've got the valve gear and the link motion, which is very nice, and can't wait to see all that moving. And that's the speedometer. Then you've got the accurate box pock, or also known Southern Firth Brown wheels, like they did have in real life. Rivets on the bogie there, which is very nice. Then the nameplates and the plaque there are also etched. They're put on separately. Obviously the West Country class underneath that is printed on, but it doesn't really matter. The nameplates and the plaques themselves are separately fitted, and they are accurate and they look nice. Again, more rivets on the casing. Then you got these, which are they some sort of smoke deflector or something? I'm not 100% certain, but as you can see in this case with Bude, they are longer, because normally they would come to about here on most locos, but in this case they are longer. But that is accurate, because Bude in reality did have these detail parts that were long, these deflectors or whatever they're called. I think they are deflectors. They do look like them, but I could be wrong. But I'm assuming that that's what they are, because they do look like them. Also, they have got the shape of the casing right as well, we can't forget that. I mean, that just looks ace. Then we have the cab interior. Just look at that. It's all painted. The gauges, the dials, the regulator, the pipework, it's all painted. Just like it should be, because that is what we expect nowadays. Got the steps there for the tender already fitted. Storage cabinets on the tender as well, and the footplate there. That's the small chute for the coal to go into. That has a nice little door there, accurate to the real thing. And then you've got these rear windows on the back of the tender. And that's there so that when the loco was in reverse, the crew could see. Hence why I got this bit of the tender that dips down like that. It's like a channel, basically. Then you've got the rear window, so travelling in reverse you could actually see. Well, in this loco anyway. In many locos you couldn't, tender wise, but with this case you could. There's rivets on the tender frames, and the axle boxes and the springs, and again the Southern Firth Brown wheels that should be there, which is nice. The light crest is crispy printed, sorry, and it looks very nice. Then you've also got these, which are some sort of tanks, which are there like on the real thing, and they are nicely put on. The water filler cap there doesn't open, but doesn't need to, but it's there. There is a few rivets on these detail parts here, though, on the tender. We've got the ladders on the back, a bright pipe already fitted on the back, more tender steps, and that dolphin tail style coupling on the rear there, as you can see there. Buffers are metal and sprung like the front ones are. More warning signs on the back, and lamp irons with the electric headlamps. And then there's the coal, which it should be removable. I have no doubt that it isn't. And so the only way we're going to find out if it's removable or not is a needle. I have dusted down the front of the loco, by the way. Hence why the makeup brush was there. But the coal has been removable on these locos in the past, so that is why I'm not doubting that it's not removable in this case, because it obviously should have. But then if not, then I would be surprised, but I don't think it's not going to be removable. It should be. Yes, it is. Look at that. I knew it. So I shall get some real coal put in the tender later on, but for now we'll just put the coal back into place. Right, so I use this time now to spin the model around and have a look at the other side. Detail wise it should be the same, although there's some few differences. Again, footsteps on the tender, accurate livery application again and lining and the lake crest. There's more pipe work under the cab there than on the other side. More rivets and the loco's running number, and more lining going down the side of the casing, which is accurate to the real thing. It stops up by the windows there. Again, you've got the nameplates, which are etched, as well as the plaque, of course. And you've got another of them smoke deflector things. If again, that's what they are. They could be, but they might not be. Then we'll get another glance of the front of the model. It's now been dusted down. As you can see. So, all in all, I think it's a stunning model. And there's also these handrails on the tender as well, we can't forget that. So yeah, it is a stunning model. And these locomotives are my favourite steam locomotives. Because, you know, you've got the distinctive chuffing sound and that whistle that you just cannot beat. And then there's the appearance of the locomotives as well. So whether it's an unrebuilt or a rebuilt, they're my favourite. And even more reason to so, because I've driven a rebuilt Battle of Britain with my own hands and had to go to Stoke in one as well. So that is another reason for them to be my favourites, and that is why I've got as many as I have. Because I just love them. And who doesn't? The details I will fit on later, but I'm not going to do that just yet. And that is because I've actually got several double headers planned for this locomotive, which should make some very good videos. I'm planning to double head it with one of my black 5s, the 7F, which would make a very nice Somerset and Dorset scene there. And also I'm planning to double head this with my other bullets, the Unrebuilt Battle of Britain, the rebuilt West Country. So do keep your eyes peeled for those videos, because I will be filming those very soon. Although, to be honest, I could still get away with putting the details on anyway. One thing I should point out though, interestingly, you don't get any, well, there are moulded drain cocks there on the cylinders, or what's supposed to be drain cocks I think. We don't get any to separately put on. But you could always paint them up if you wanted to. I may do that using the Posca paint pen, I don't know. But it's not really too much of a criticism, to be honest. You could argue it would be nice if they did supply ones to fit on anyway, but that can be a bit of a pain. So I don't really see any problems that they have got them moulded ones. It would have been nice if they had changed that, but we can't really have everything. You know, to be honest, it's not really bad anyway, in my opinion. Because, you know, that doesn't really write the model down for what it is, because it's still a stunning model. So, with all that said and done, I think what we need to do now is to put this model on the tracks and see how it runs. I just can't wait to see this model running. It might be hard to hold, as I have been holding it, but, you know, that's just to prevent detail parts from snapping off, because I don't want it to happen. And it's the same with all models, I'm always very careful of that. Right, so here we are at the layout, and we're going to put Bude onto the rails. Okay, switch is on. Didn't take very long, did it? Power's already turned on, so we'll give it a wiggle. Look at that. And that's how slow she can go. Okay, no, that is how slow she can go, definitely. Quite impressive. But yeah. Nice and smooth. Okay, so now we just need to get it running around the track. Now I've got to hand it to you, that is definitely smooth running like I've just said. Just look at that moving. Just stunning. So there she goes over the level crossing and through the tunnel where she will appear out the other end. I just had to avoid the tripod thing. So there she comes. Passing the sidings, the wagons are now in a cupboard now because they were obscuring the view slightly of the locomotive going past. Passing through the station, all the people are waiting to get the next train, and passing the seaside that will have more stone walls put up later. Then passing the sheds, we've got the Batman 101 that still needs to go onto into the cupboard, the Royal Scot, and the N15 from the last review we did. One of the cab steps has come off, so I need to glue that back on. Probably won't use poly cement though, because, well, I'll probably use a different type of glue for the cab steps. Or any sort of footsteps for that matter, but that's not important right now. So there's no jerky movement or grinding noises or anything that it shouldn't be sounding like or running like. It's just perfect. And of course passing the airfield and going under the bridge. That man on the bike there is fallen down, will be glued back on. So just ignore that. And that is the latest part of the layout that's pretty much done. Just a few bushes. So I think all we need to do now is to get some close-ups of that, and then we can get her pulling the train. got Bude coupled up to the rake of Southern Region coaches. I know there's still only 4 of them, but the rake will be extended soon, and that's a promise. When that happens though, that coach there, which is the odd one out of the 3, will not be in the rake. I will probably get it repainted, but even so. But for now it's a rake of 4, but it won't be for too long, I'm hoping, because I'll soon be getting some more Southern Region coaches to extend it to a rake of 7 at least, maybe 6. But she won't be pulling 4 coaches when she's doing the double headers, of course, because I'd just be a little bit silly. And also when she starts hauling the longer express trains, it'll be more than 4 coaches long. But considering it's just 4, she should be able to pull them easily. Yeah, she can. Look at that. And if she can pull 4, then she can pull at least another 3 more of them. Because that is a heavy model, remember. And all the weight is there is important, like I've said earlier and many times before. But you've got to admit that does look really nice with this locomotive. These Southern Region coaches. But then again, they're meant to be, because it's a Southern Region locomotive. I just can't wait to get more of these coaches, because then it'll be even better. Let's get another shot of the blink motion and valve gear moving. Just look at that. So I think there's pretty much one thing left to do really now, is to get some close-ups of her pulling these coaches, and then we can bring the review to an end by coming to the conclusion. And I already know what that's going to be. It's pretty much obvious. So in conclusion then, can't really find any faults with it. It's a stunning model. It's going to be another high scorer yet again. You've got to love your Bude Pacifics, and you've got to have them in your collection. And if not, why not? Because I'm telling you now, whether you are a fan of these locomotives or a lover of these locomotives as much as I am, then your collection is not going to be complete without any of them. That's a fact. Because you've got to have them on your layout. Whether you love them like me or don't like them and like something else. Highly recommended.